Ladies and gentlemen, I came to tell you something today that could change the course of your life forever. Your past has expired. The only thing keeping it alive is your permission. Have you ever tried to drive forward while staring in the rearview mirror? You won't get far before you crash. And yet, that is exactly how many of us are living our lives, stuck in what was while forfeiting what is. God is not in your past. He was there, but He's not staying there. He is the God of I am, not the God of I was, which means your future is not chained to your history, but it is completely tied to your decisions now. I came to declare it is time to break the cycle of regret. It is time to divorce the pain of yesterday and marry the purpose of today. This is the hour, not next week, not next year. This is the hour to live. Because if you keep giving your energy to what's dead, you will never have the strength to birth what's alive. Some of you are imprisoned not by bars of steel, but by bars of memory. You're not chained by demons. You're chained by recall. The greatest battlefield isn't in your finances, your relationships, or your health. The greatest war is happening in your mind, not because your memory is broken, but because your memory has been exalted above your revelation. Let me tell you something dangerous. When memory becomes more powerful than vision, destiny dies. God never gave you memory to define you. He gave it to refine you. The moment you allow what was to decide what is, you've handed your future over to a ghost. And hear me, ghosts make terrible leaders. You are not a museum for pain. You are not a curator of betrayal. You were not created to archive trauma. But many of us walk around with an internal photo album of every failure, every rejection, every violation, and we keep turning the pages, reliving the images, rehearsing the pain, and reinviting what heaven already dismissed. You cannot build a future while dating your past. I know what you're thinking, but you don't know what I've done. You're right. I don't. But I know who He is. And God is not intimidated by your mistakes. In fact, He factors in your flaws before He calls your name. Let me ask you a question. When God called Moses at the burning bush, do you think He forgot about the murder charge? No. He called him anyway. When Jesus chose Peter, do you think He didn't know the man would deny Him 3 times? Of course He knew. He called him anyway. God's calling is not based on your record. It's based on His intent. The problem is, we keep returning to the courtrooms of our past, pleading guilty to crimes we've already been pardoned from. That's not humility. That's self-sabotage dressed as false guilt. You see, forgetting the past is not about amnesia. It's about alignment. It's not that you forget the facts, it's that you stop feeding them authority. You stop letting the event become your identity. Jacob wrestled with God in the dark, but what was worse than the limp in his hip was the label on his life. For years he lived as a deceiver. That was his name. That was his history. But when the encounter came, God didn't just bless him, He renamed him. And I believe God is doing the same with some of you today. Some of you have worn the name failure for too long. Some of you were divorced, abused, addict, unqualified, unwanted, like name tags given out at a reunion you never asked to attend. But heaven has a different name for you. You are more than the memory, more than the event, more than the scars. But you will never walk in your new name until you stop answering to the old one. Listen to me carefully. Your memories are tools, not thrones. They are meant to teach you, not rule you. The moment your memory becomes your master, your movement stops. There is a reason the front windshield of a car is larger than the rearview mirror. Because where you're going is greater than where you've been. But you cannot go forward looking backward. You cannot run toward the light if you're still studying the shadow. You say, but I can't let go. That's not true. The real issue is you haven't decided to. Because healing isn't just about time, it's about choice. You don't need another year, you need a new decision. You don't need more therapy, you need more truth. And the truth is this: you are not what happened to you, you are what God says about you. You have cried long enough, you have bled long enough, you have waited long enough. Now decide to stop feeding the memory. Decide to stop glorifying the pain. Decide to stop worshiping the wound. Because as long as you live in your yesterday, you deny heaven the power to use you today. So I declare to you now, memory, you will no longer rule me. Yesterday, you no longer own me. In past, I'm done making you my God. I'm moving on because I'm still breathing. And if I'm still breathing, then God's not finished. And if He's not finished, then I'd refuse to be stuck. The past is over. The page has turned. And today, I'm stepping into a brand new chapter. There's only one place where you can change anything. Right here, right now. Not in your yesterday, not in your tomorrow. You don't have dominion over the past, and you haven't been given custody of the future. But you've been crowned with power in this very moment. Wouldn't sow arrows to the currency of heaven. Some of us are so obsessed with what was or what might be that we are blind to what is. And let me tell you, what is matters most. The present moment is where obedience happens. The present moment is where faith manifests. The present moment is the battlefield where your decisions determine your direction. We keep praying for breakthrough one day. We keep saying we'll change when the time is right. We keep pushing freedom into the fantasy of someday. But God doesn't move in fantasy, He moves in faith. And faith is not futuristic, it is immediate. The Word says, now faith is the substance, not later faith, not eventually faith, now. Let me ask you something. How long will you keep postponing your own transformation? How long will you allow delay to disguise itself as preparation? Some of you are not waiting on God. God is waiting on you. You don't need another sign. You don't need another prophecy. You need to take responsibility for this hour. You see, power is only ever experienced in the present. Let me prove it. You cannot pray yesterday. You cannot forgive tomorrow. You cannot obey God next week. You can plan, yes, but you can't act anywhere except now. This moment is the platform where heaven and earth collide. And every time you delay, you desecrate that divine opportunity. The enemy doesn't mind if you have great ideas, as long as you never act on them. He doesn't mind your dreams as long as they stay in your head. He'll even let you believe as long as you don't move. Because power without motion is wasted authority. Let me tell you a story. I once spoke with a man who had spent 15 years getting ready to launch a ministry. He had the name, the website, the logo, the books, everything but the obedience. He said, I'm waiting on the right time. I looked him in the eye and said, 15 years ago was the right time. You just didn't believe enough to act. And with tears in his eyes, he said, I wasted my moment. Don't let that be your story. Some of you keep saying, and I'm not ready, but let me remind you, Noah didn't wait for the rain to build the ark. He obeyed before the storm. That's what faith looks like. Movement before evidence, not after. There are things heaven has already released to you, but you're forfeiting them because you're emotionally stuck in a place God has already moved on from. The present is sacred, not because it's safe, but because it's charged with potential. This moment right now, this second, is pregnant with transformation. But you cannot give birth while distracted by yesterday's pain or paralyzed by tomorrow's uncertainty. That's why Jesus said, don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Not because tomorrow doesn't matter, but because if you ruin today, you never arrive at a tomorrow worth living in. You are not powerless. You are not stuck. You are not waiting. You are standing in the only place where God will ever meet you, this exact moment. And that means your next breakthrough isn't on the way, it's already standing in the doorway. But the door only opens to action, and action only happens in the present. So decide, move, act, because delay is disobedience in disguise, and your moment is waiting to become a miracle. There is one truth that must break into your soul like lightning through a stormy sky. God's grace is not stored in the past, and it is not saved in the future. It only flows in the present. You will never access power where God is not. And let me tell you, God is not in your nostalgia, and He's not in your anxiety. He is in your now. Grace is like oxygen. You can't breathe yesterday's air. You can't inhale tomorrow's wind. You must breathe the breath that is in your lungs at this very moment. That is how grace works. Heaven is not waiting for you to be perfect. Heaven is waiting for you to be present. The problem with many believers is they are praying for strength in a day that doesn't exist. They are begging for peace, for a future they haven't entered, while ignoring the mercy already poured out in this moment. You are standing in the very hour where heaven has already distributed exactly what you need to win. Let me make this plain. God doesn't give you grace for the life you fantasize about. He gives you grace for the life you actually live. The tired life, the broken relationship, the unfinished dreams, the silent pain, the boring job, the lonely nights. That's where grace shows up. Not in your imagination, in your reality. But if you're always looking for God in what's next, you will miss the miracle of what is. You say, I'll be better when the debt is gone. I'll have peace when the children grow. I'll feel joy once I'm married. I'll change when I move. But hear me, you are pushing God's grace into a future that doesn't belong to you. You don't get to control tomorrow. You don't get to re-edit the past. But what you do have right now is access to divine assistance for the exact moment you're living in. Some of you are drowning in regret over things you can't undo. Some of you are suffocating under pressure about things you can't predict. But God's grace does not live in what if. It does not operate in shoulda. It's active in the I am, not the I was or the I will be. Remember the Israelites in the wilderness? God gave them manna, daily bread. Not weekly, not monthly, daily. And if they tried to hoard it for tomorrow, it spoiled. Why? Because God wanted them to learn that trust is not a stockpile. Trust is fresh. Trust is daily. Trust is present. Some of you are trying to preserve yesterday's revelation and wondering why your spirit feels stale. You are eating yesterday's bread and expecting today's strength. It won't work. Fresh grace is found in fresh surrender. Let me tell you this, the very strength you are waiting on already exists in the hour you are avoiding. The peace you are craving has already been released. It's just waiting for you to step into alignment with the moment. Stop asking God to give you peace for a conversation that hasn't happened. Ask Him to give you grace for the words you need right now. Stop asking Him for strength to face a storm that hasn't even formed. Stand in the calm of today and declare, your grace is sufficient here. You don't need more time, you need more trust. And trust is not built in your memories, and it's not waiting in your ambitions. It is forged in the furnace of now. This is the hour. This is the place. This is the breath. And this is the grace. Don't wait. Don't wish. Don't wander. Receive it. Because God is not coming to meet you later. He's already standing with you now. Nothing paralyzes potential like the chains of yesterday. Nothing silences destiny like the echo of old voices. And nothing blinds vision like the dust of dead seasons. There are people right now who are breathing, but they are not alive. They go to work, they eat, they drive, they talk, but their souls are trapped in a version of life that no longer exists. Like a bird locked in a cage that no longer has a key, not because the door won't open, but because it's afraid to fly. You cannot paint tomorrow's masterpiece using yesterday's ashes. Some of you are still nursing wounds from battles that ended years ago. You keep talking about the betrayal, the failure, the missed opportunity, as if your future must apologize for your past. But hear me, you cannot create what you will not confront. And if you keep cuddling your past, you will kill your becoming. Creativity demands space. But when your mind is full of memories you refuse to release, there is no room for vision to breathe. Let me say something strong. Nostalgia can become an idol. You can fall so in love with what was that you become unwilling to embrace what is becoming. And when that happens, you no longer worship God, you worship comfort. You no longer follow the Spirit, you follow patterns. And God will not pour new oil into old containers. You say, I remember when I was on fire. You say, back then I used to feel God's presence. You say, I used to be full of ideas. And I say, who told you God left? Who told you He stopped speaking? Who told you creativity was only for your youth? God never stopped. You did. When Lot's wife looked back, she didn't just disobey a command. She clung to a culture God was trying to burn. And the moment she turned, she became frozen in a place God had called her to escape. Some of you are spiritually frozen, not because God hasn't moved, but because you keep turning around. Let go of what was. Mourn if you must, but move. Release the relationship that ended. Release the season that closed. Because God cannot fill a hand that refuses to open. Let me say it again. You cannot paint tomorrow's masterpiece using yesterday's ashes. It's time to clear the canvas. Because what God wants to create in you requires more space than your past will ever give. You cannot arrive at the future while you're still hiding in your past. The door to what is next will never open for a divided mind. You are either all in or you are already behind. The future does not wait for those who hesitate. It only rewards those who show up fully present. And this is the deception. Many believe that time alone will bring change. That if you just wait long enough, things will improve. But time doesn't change you. Decision does. Time without obedience becomes wasted seasons. You see, every future you dream about is already designed. The blueprint exists. Heaven is not improvising. But the access code to that future is now. What you do today will either invite that future closer or push it further away. Think of a seed. A seed does not become a tree by wishing. It becomes a tree by dying in the ground, by surrendering to the soil, by engaging fully with the environment it's planted in. And some of you have dreams, but you're still in the pocket. You're still sitting on the shelf of when I feel ready. You're afraid to go deep, afraid to get dirty, afraid to lose control. But hear this, growth is violent to the comfortable. There is no transformation without tension, no destiny without death to old patterns. Some of you are living off borrowed vision. I'm talking about ideas you got from other people. You're mimicking movements, copying strategies, comparing your life to a highlight reel that wasn't built for your assignment. And you wonder why it doesn't work, because God does not anoint imitation. He blesses authenticity. You must bring your full self into the now, your attention, your energy, your faith, your repentance, your imagination, all of it, not spread across yesterday's guilt and tomorrow's fears, but centered in the calling of today. There's a young man I met who wanted to be a filmmaker. Brilliant mind, incredible passion. But every time he sat down to write, he told himself, there's already so many people better than me. What if no one watches it? And so he never started. That young man is now 42, still waiting for the right moment. And let me tell you, the right moment is the one you show up for. You don't get to choose your starting point, but you do choose if you start at all. And heaven is not waiting for perfection. Heaven is waiting for participation. God is not asking for flawless action. He is asking for full engagement. Your future is not a lottery ticket. It's a harvest. And harvest only comes when you plant now, water now, believe now, build now. So rise up, show up, move forward, and meet your future in the only place it can ever be shaped, right here in this sacred present hour. You were not born to manage time, you were born to master moments. And you will never master what you refuse to engage. Hear me. There is power in the present hour that will never be available again. Every moment you waste is a moment heaven had loaded with miracles, but you were too distracted to collect them. The Spirit of God does not dwell in your theories. He does not live in your explanations. He shows up in your obedience. Not tomorrow's obedience, today's. That's where heaven moves. Some of you are waiting for a voice when God already gave you a verse. You're waiting for a sign, and He already gave you strength. And every day you delay, you are robbing the earth of a version of you that was created to shift atmospheres. I am not speaking to your talent. I am speaking to your alignment. Because many gifted people are ineffective. And many intelligent people are fruitless. Because God does not bless delay. He blesses agreement. And agreement can only happen in real time. And there are prayers you've prayed for years. But the answer was never locked in heaven. It was waiting on you to show up. You can't just say amen with your mouth. You must say it with your life. with your footsteps, with your yes. Some of you say, but I'm not ready. I'm still healing. I'm still learning. And yes, healing is holy. Preparation is wise. But if you wait until you feel fearless, you will wait forever. Faith is not the absence of uncertainty. It is the refusal to let fear make the decision. There was a woman I met who had a vision to mentor girls in her neighborhood, young girls growing up in chaos and confusion. But she kept saying, I'm not qualified, I need more training, maybe next year. One day, one of the girls she was meant to reach ended up in a crisis. No voice of wisdom, no hand to pull her back. And she told me, weeping, I knew I was supposed to act, but I didn't. Let me tell you, delayed obedience is still disobedience. This is the hour to move. This is the hour to give. This is the hour to forgive. This is the hour to begin. This is the hour to step out, speak up, and stretch beyond your safety. Because the kingdom of God doesn't just come near, it comes now. Heaven is looking for people who stop rehearsing the pain and start releasing their power. People who understand that this day, this breath, this opportunity was tailor-made for divine impact. So I ask you now, what are you waiting for? If you believe God is with you, prove it. If you believe He has called you, walk like it. If you believe the time is now, then live like it. Because the present hour is not just a moment, it's an invitation. And what you do with it will echo into eternity. My friends, the past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. You were never meant to pitch your tent in the shadows of yesterday. You were designed to rise, to reign, and to redeem the time, not to rehearse what's already been buried. Hear me. The grave of your past cannot hold the resurrection of your now. Let it go. Burn the bridges if you must. Mourn what's behind you, but do not miss what's in front of you. The power of transformation is in your hands, not in your history. You are not defined by what happened to you. You are defined by what you decide to become. So choose to live, choose to engage, choose to show up boldly, without apology, without delay. You don't need more signs. You need more courage. You don't need more confirmation. You need more conviction. This is the hour to be present, the hour to be bold, the hour to partner with heaven and refuse to die, fool. Your time is now. Your voice is needed. Your light must shine. And your future is waiting on your decision to show up in the present with fire, with clarity, and with full surrender. So walk out of this moment differently than you came in. Walk out with your head lifted. Walk out with your heart open. Walk out with your feet moving. The world is not waiting for another excuse. It's waiting for your obedience. Good luck on your journey. May you rise with power, walk with grace, and stand with kingdom authority. And from the depths of my heart, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing. And thank you for daring to live fully now.